Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tamlyn and this is Sewn on the Tyne, and I'm here today with the reveal video for my Zadie jumpsuit. That is a mouthful. For my Zadie jumpsuit. So this is a collaboration that I've been doing with the very lovely Helen from Stitch Rip Repeat. We both discovered a few months ago that we both hadn't made the Zadie jumpsuit but both really wanted to make it. So it's a pattern by Paper Theory that is a jumpsuit pattern with slightly cropped legs, and you can make it with short or longer sleeves. It's been everywhere in the sewing community for a good few years now since it was released. I feel like the majority of people have made it, but I wasn't one of them and neither was Helen. So we decided to do a little collaboration where we would both sew up the Zadie and we would talk to you about our experiences with that. We did planning videos a little while ago where we talked about the fabrics we were going to use and our thoughts on sizing, that sort of thing. And then we went away, we sewed up our versions, and then we're back to reveal them to you today. So rather than just going straight in and making my Zadie in this fabric, which is the Artemis Viscose Twill from Fabric Godmother, I knew I wanted to make it in this fabric eventually, but it's quite an expensive fabric that I was saving for something special, so I didn't want to risk ruining my garment and wasting the fabric, because I had seen a lot of people talk about the sizing of the Zadie and it being oversized and the crotch hanging quite low. So yeah, I very much planned and wanted to make a toile first, and I actually ended up making 3 before I made my final version, just to make sure that I was happy with the sizing and that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is talk you through all of my versions, all of my 4 versions I've made in total, talk to you about what fabric I used and what I did to adjust the sizing to better fit my body. I'm also going to pop in some photos and videos so you can see all the versions in the flesh. Right. Let's get started. So version number 1 was my very first toile. I looked at the sizing chart and based on that I decided to make a size 10. That was sizing down, so my measurements put me across a 12 and a 14. I decided to size down to a 10 based on the finished garment measurements. I would always recommend using the finished garment measurements as your basis for choosing a pattern size. I think it's much more important and relevant than the body measurement chart. So with it being a toile, I decided to just make a straight size 10 with no adjustments to start off with. I used a fabric that I'd had in my stash for quite a long time, which was just a mid-blue chambray, which I'd purchased from Selvedge Bolts. They don't have that in stock anymore, but you know, everywhere sells chambray. We sell 3 different colours of chambray at First for Fabrics, and it's a perfect fabric for this sort of thing. So initially I was really happy with my finished Zadie in my chambray. But then as I sort of wore it a bit more and looked in the mirror a bit more and got comments from people that I know, I started to become aware that it wasn't a great fit at the back, particularly in the bum area. It made my bum look really saggy and it just didn't fit very well in that area. So I knew I needed to change something. I went over to Instagram and asked for advice, and lots of people responded with suggestions. So a sway back adjustment was one thing that was mentioned quite a lot, or taking some fabric out of the back seam, like the centre back seam at the back. And I also considered sizing down. However, I was quite happy with the fit on the top half. So what I actually decided to do was to make a second toile. So not go straight into this fabric, because I wanted to make some changes and see what would happen with those changes. So I had a look in my stash and I pulled out a beautiful viscose fabric that I'd bought from Sew Me Sunshine a couple of years ago. It had this really cute cherry print and flowers on a navy background. I had 3 meters of this and I thought it would be perfect. But as I was starting to cut it out, I decided that I was just going to make a play suit version, so to cut the legs into shorts rather than have them as the full legs. And I thought that would be really cute. We were just getting into the summer and the warm weather, and I thought that would be really fun to do. So the changes that I made in terms of sizing, I kept the top half the same, but I cut out the trousers in a size 8, so I sized down by another size on the trousers. I also took 4 centimeters out of the rise. That was just an approximation. I kind of looked at my chambray version and estimated how far down the crotch was hanging below where I wanted it to. and I estimated that was about 4 centimetres. So there are lengthen and shorten lines for the rise on the front and back leg pieces. So I just used those and I shortened my pieces by 4 centimetres at that point. In terms of making them into a playsuit rather than full trousers, I just guessed and I just cut them a bit longer than I imagined I would want them. And then when it came to hemming, I just tried them on, figured out how short I wanted them and hemmed them to that point. There was no method, no skill to that. It was just pure guesswork. So I was really happy with this finished playsuit. I think the fit was great. I think it really suits me and my style. The fit on the bum, I think, was particularly good, if I do say so myself. I think the changes I made, sizing down to an 8 and also taking that 4 centimetres out of the rise, really did the trick. So I was then ready to cut out my final version. I also decided to make another playsuit at the same time, and I thought I could sew them up alongside each other. So I batch cut and then batch sewed because they were both on black fabric bases. The fabric I chose for my next playsuit version was a floral viscose, which I bought from First for Fabrics. We don't stock it anymore, it's sold out quite quickly, but I only had 1.8 meters of this fabric. So in order to make it work, I had to cut the belt pieces out of a plain black viscose. But I think that actually looks quite nice. It breaks up the floral design quite nicely. And again, I'm really happy with this playsuit. I've worn it a few times now. I didn't make any changes in size because I was really happy with the changes I've made for my second version. And then there was my final version, which is this one. So when I was starting to cut this one out, it was quite late at night and I was cutting it out the night before one of my Sewtoon social sewing days because I was going to sew it up there. I did think it's quite a large print. I don't want to break up the print on the back bodice, so I decided to cut the back bodice out on the fold rather than 2 separate pieces, which it is in the pattern. You cut it out as 2 separate pieces and sew those together. That would have given me a seam line down the back bodice and broken up the bold pattern, so I just cut it out on the fold instead. So I just folded what would be the seam allowance, folded that back and cut it out on the fold. That worked great. I didn't then consider the bold pattern for any of my other cutting out. Whether that was I just didn't think, whether that was me being quite tired, whether that was me rushing, I don't know. But I'm a bit annoyed with myself for not considering the bold design. I think I don't usually sew with fabrics that have a bold pattern on them, so I just didn't think about it. But here are my issues. I've sort of ended up with moon boobs. Can you see? I've ended up with these 2 moons on my boobs. One slightly higher than the other, but you know, moon boobs. A little bit annoying. Then the front legs are pretty much identical because I cut them out rather than in one layer. I folded the fabric and cut them out on top of each other. So I've got the same print, the same section of the print of the fabric on both the front legs, which I think looks a bit stupid. And then the back legs I've done the same, but they're just slightly offset. So they're identical, but just the pattern's slightly offset. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't notice. However, I do every time I look at it. So I'm a bit frustrated by that. Yeah, I am. I'm a bit annoyed with myself. Other than that though, I really loved sewing these up. All of the Zadies I think I've enjoyed sewing up. I'm happy with the size on this one. There is a bit of excess fabric still at the back around the sort of lower back top of the bum area, but it's not enough to concern me and make me want to, you know, do anything about it. I'm not sure I'll even adjust anything for the next one I make because I think it is supposed to be an oversized loose fit. It's not supposed to be really figure hugging, so I need to not worry about that. I do love this fabric, but there is something that's just holding me back a little bit, and whether that's because I've messed up the pattern placement, I don't know. But I was saying to Sam yesterday, what's interesting is I think I've worn this 3 times now, and usually when I wear something that I've made, somebody always compliments me on it, or somebody mentions it, or I really love your dress, or you know, where did you get it, da 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 da. Nobody has made a comment on this jumpsuit at all, and that's fine. I don't expect compliments on everything I make, but it just kind of niggles at me that perhaps that means it's not great. And whether that's because of the fabric choice or the pattern placement or what, I don't know. But anyway, it's comfortable. I'll wear it possibly just around the house and in the garden, and you know, I don't know if I'll wear it out and about because I'm not sure I feel confident in it because of the pattern placement, and that's my fault. I need to consider that more in future and really think about how I place my pattern out. The instructions should have helped really, because it has you cut everything out as a single layer, but I ignored that because I wanted to save time, and then it's kind of gone against me in the end. The only other thing with this fabric as well to mention, it's a viscose twill, really lovely quality. However, I've washed this twice now, washed it on a 30-degree wash, a quick wash, and air dried it, and it's kind of gone a little bit fuzzy, like the fabric. You probably won't be able to see if I just come up close. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's like it's gone a little bit fuzzy. Not quite, it hasn't like pilled or anything like that, but it's just like got this kind of fuzziness, a fuzzy look to it. Is that something I've done wrong in the washing process? I don't know. Is it the quality of the fabric? I don't know. I still love the design of this fabric and the bright colours and everything. I'm just not thrilled. Out of the 4 versions I've made, this is my least favourite, which is ridiculous really, because this was the final version that I was so excited about making. But never mind, you win some, you lose some, and I absolutely love my 2 playsuit versions. They are my faves. I really love those and I feel great in those. So to round things off and summarise my final thoughts, I really do like this pattern, the Zadie jumpsuit. The size range is great, the instructions are really good. I think it looks good on everyone. Everyone that I've seen wearing it looks great in it. You do need to carefully consider the sizing by looking at the finished garment measurements and also looking at the height that it's drafted for and adjusting the rise accordingly, because a lot of people end up with a really saggy crotch on this pattern. And if you like that look, that's fine, but it's not for me. So definitely consider shortening the rise if your height is different to the height it's drafted for. And I would definitely recommend sewing up a 12 version first. The instructions are really great and clear for this pattern. The trickiest bit really is the bias binding, especially around the curve at the front where the tie is attached. It's a really sort of steep curve, or really curvy curve. So it's quite tricky around that point, and I think on all of my versions I ended up going back and sewing it again because I hadn't caught the bias binding on both sides. It's fine, doesn't bother me, but just to watch out for that bit too. I would definitely make another version of this. I think I'd like another plain fabric. So I'm thinking of maybe a linen or a washed cotton, something like that. So I definitely want to make another of the long leg version. And then next spring, summer, I will definitely 100% be making some more play suits because I really like that version. I feel great in it. It suits me and my style. And yeah, I think that's part of this whole process I'm happiest with, is discovering that version of the pattern and how much I love it. Helen has made 2 beautiful versions of the Zadie, both in really bold, vibrant prints, and she looks amazing in both of hers. So do go check Helen's videos out and her Instagram to see her wonderful versions. And thank you so much, Helen, for collaborating with me and for your patience when I wasn't quite ready on time for the reveal. Shock. Please let me know your thoughts down below. Which of my versions is your favourite and why? And also, if you've made the Zadie and you've got any top tips or any thoughts to share, please do drop them down below too. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. And if you've liked this video, please give it a little thumbs up. That would be awesome. And subscribe if you don't already. Happy sewing. Bye. Which of my versions are your favourite?